When I first tried to speak English in a real situation, it was not in a classroom. It was at a small coffee shop. I remember standing in front of the counter. I wanted to order one coffee, just 3 simple words, but suddenly my heart started beating very fast. My hands were shaking a little. My mouth opened, but no words came out. I knew exactly what to say in my mind, but the words got stuck. The man behind the counter looked at me, waiting for me to speak. I felt frozen, and finally, I gave up and walked away. This moment stayed with me for many years. I kept asking myself, why did I fail? I knew the words. I practiced them before, so why couldn't I speak? Later, I realized it was not about vocabulary or grammar. It was about fear. Fear creates a strong wall between your brain and your mouth. On one side of the wall, inside your brain, you have many English words. You understand sentences. You know what to say. But on the other side of the wall, your mouth refuses to move. Fear builds the wall higher and higher until you feel trapped. This fear is not just about English. It is the same fear people feel before giving a speech, before singing in public, or before performing on a stage. In English learning, this fear feels even stronger because we think everyone is judging us. We think, if I make a mistake, people will laugh. If my pronunciation is wrong, they will not respect me. If I forget a word, I will look stupid. These thoughts are heavy. They press down on you. They make your body feel nervous. And when your body feels nervous, suddenly you forget everything you know. I saw this problem many times with my students. In class, they could write beautiful sentences. They could answer questions in writing. But when I asked them to speak, many of them stayed silent. Their eyes looked down at the floor. Some even started sweating or shaking. I knew they were smart. I knew they had the knowledge, but fear controlled them. Fear whispered in their ear, "Don't speak. You will make a mistake. People will laugh at you." And they believed it. So they stayed quiet, lesson after lesson, never breaking the wall. I also remember one student in particular. She was a young woman who studied English for more than 6 years. She could read novels and understand difficult grammar rules. But in speaking practice, she said almost nothing. One day, I asked her why. She told me, "Teacher, I am scared. I know the words, but my voice does not come out. My heart is too fast. My face gets hot. I feel embarrassed." Her story broke my heart because I understood her pain. I lived the same situation. It showed me again that fear is the biggest enemy in learning to speak. Many learners feel a strong need to be perfect before they speak. They think, if my grammar is not 100% correct, I should not talk. This way of thinking is very dangerous. It keeps students silent for many years. I remember a student named Alex. He was one of the smartest students I ever met. He knew hundreds of advanced English words, and his vocabulary was even bigger than mine in some topics. When I gave him reading exercises, he answered everything correctly. But when it came time to speak, his lips stayed closed and his voice disappeared. One day, I asked Alex, "Why don't you speak in class?" He looked nervous and shy, but then he explained his problem. He said, "Teacher, I want to speak, but when I try, my brain gets too busy." He told me that in his head, he was always checking his grammar, his word choice, and his pronunciation. He thought about every small detail before saying a single sentence. By the time he decided which word to use, the conversation had already moved on. He felt left behind and disappointed in himself, so he gave up trying. This is what I call the enemy of progress. When you try to be perfect all the time, you stop yourself from making progress. You are like a runner who never starts the race because he wants the perfect shoes and perfect weather. While he waits, other runners are already moving forward, even with mistakes. Language is not like math. There is not just one correct answer. There are many ways to say the same idea. Native speakers make grammar mistakes too, but they keep talking. That is how communication happens, not through perfect sentences. I often tell my students a simple but powerful idea. Done is better than perfect. Let's imagine a situation. You want to say, I went to a cafe with my friend this afternoon, and we drank lattes. This is a long and complex sentence. If you are worried about every single word, you may choose silence instead. That silence gives you 0 points. But if you try a simpler version, you might say, today I drink coffee with friend. The grammar is not correct. The vocabulary is limited, but the meaning is clear. The other person understands you, and you have succeeded. I met another student who showed this problem clearly. She told me she never spoke in English, even though she studied for 8 years. She said, when I want to speak, I always think, maybe this is not the right word. Maybe this is not the correct tense. Her thoughts became a heavy chain that stopped her. She believed every sentence must be perfect before it left her mouth. But this belief stopped her from saying even the simplest things. I told her, your goal is not perfection. Your goal is connection. Just open your mouth and try. Many English learners spend years studying with books, podcasts, and movies. But still, they cannot speak. They fill their brains with knowledge, but their mouths remain silent. This is because they only do input and never do output. Input. Output means speaking and writing. Most people love input because it feels safe. You can sit alone with a book. You can watch a video quietly. But output feels scary because you must use your own voice. Without output, however, real growth never comes, no matter how much input you collect. Let me share an example to make this problem clear. Imagine a man who wants to learn how to swim. He buys 10 books about swimming and reads every page carefully. He watches Olympic swimmers on YouTube every night. He can explain every technique perfectly. How to move the arms, how to kick the legs, how to breathe underwater. But this man never goes near a swimming pool. Then one day, someone pushes him into the water. What happens? He does not swim. He sinks immediately. His knowledge is useless because his body has no practice. Speaking English works the same way as swimming. You can know the rules, but your mouth and tongue must practice to produce the sounds. Your muscles need to learn the rhythm, the stress, and the flow of English. This is why learners who only read or listen feel shocked when they cannot speak in real life. Their brain is full, but their tongue is weak. Speaking is a physical skill, not only a mental one. You cannot become a good speaker by just thinking about it. You must open your mouth and practice again and again. I saw this difference in my students many times. Some students read 3 hours a day. They listened to podcasts while walking, cooking, or traveling. But when I asked them to speak even one sentence, they hesitated and stayed quiet. Another student, who studied less but spoke for 5 minutes daily, improved much faster. She made mistakes, yes, but her confidence grew quickly. She trained her mouth like a muscle, and soon she could have simple conversations without fear. This showed me that speaking practice, even short, is more powerful than hours of silent study. So the question becomes, how can learners add more output into their daily lives? One simple way is to talk to yourself. You can describe your room, your food, or your feelings in English. Nobody listens, so there is no pressure. Another way is to find a language partner online and practice short calls. You can also use English in daily life in very small steps, like ordering coffee or asking for directions. These small actions look simple, but they push you into the pool. And once you are in the pool, you finally start to swim. Tell me in the comments, what is the first English sentence you will say today? Write it below. I will read your answers. If this video gave you motivation, please give it a like so more learners can find it. Don't forget to subscribe and join me every week for more simple English practice stories. And before you leave, say out loud just one sentence in English right now. Don't wait, that is your first step.